Data reporter Harry Etten is here. The need for outreach to black men, Harry, appears to be pretty stark in some of the numbers you're seeing.
Yeah, let's talk about young black men in particular. Sometimes there's a trend line. You know, I look at the polls all the time, and sometimes there's a trend line that I never noticed before and make me go, whoa. This is one of them, all right? This is the Democratic margin among black men under the age of 45 in presidential elections. You go back to November of 2012, what do you see? You see Obama by 81. Clinton only won him by 63. Then we're all the way down to Biden last time around by 53. A tremendous drop already. And then you take a look at the average of the most recent polls, and Kamala Harris is up by only 41 points. That is about half the margin that Obama won them by back in November of 2012. And this, I think, is, you know, when Barack Obama goes in last week when he was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, essentially talking to young black men, he made it seem like it was a Kamala Harris specific problem. This is part of a long-standing trend of young black men moving away from the Democratic Party, and Kamala Harris is just the latest to face that magnitude of younger black men going towards the Republicans.
That was what's most interesting here is the trend line and where some of the biggest drops happened or already happened in this case. How about black men overall?
How about black men overall? It's part of the same picture, you know. We're looking, once again, if younger black men, it looks like the worst Democratic performance since 1960, since JFK versus Richard Nixon. It's the same thing among black men overall. Again, part of a similar trend, but here actually the drop-off isn't as dramatic, right? Barack Obama won him by 85, then you see 71 with Clinton, 69, Biden, basically the same thing, holding steady. But here, again, very, very weak, only a 54-point margin. Now, again, still winning them by a large margin, but considerably lower than what we're used to, certainly considerably lower what we had during the Obama years. The bottom line is Kamala Harris with younger black men and then black men overall putting in historically weak performance for a Democratic candidate.
Is she getting any relief with black women?
All right. So, you know, we're talking about the trend line, right? And black women, look, she's doing better with black women than she is doing among black men. But here, there isn't a trend line almost until we get to Kamala Harris. So again, this is a black margin among black women. Look, Obama won him by 93, very large margin. Clinton won him by 93, a very large margin. Biden did a little bit worse at 85. But then you look here, and you get a 71-point margin. Now, again, these are large margins, but the bottom line is when you're talking about the base of the Democratic Party, you would think that Kamala Harris would do very well among black women based upon history, and of course she would be the first black woman president, but she's actually doing the worst for a Democratic candidate among black women since 1960, if this holds, John.
And again, when you look at the numbers, Harry, whenever you come in, looking at the trends is probably the most important thing.
You got.
So, folks, we'll get to the poly market. And we'll get to my prediction of the electoral college votes, which I have as right now is Trump 345, Harris 193. We'll get to all that. But these numbers are the reason why I'm predicting 345 electoral votes for President Trump. So if we take a look at this here, here you are, 81 points Obama ahead. A drop of 18 points in 2016, another drop to 10. And now you're dropping 12 points. Folks, if she's doing this with men, let's assume it's a 40-point drop from Obama. Let's even say that that's wrong. Let's say that they got this totally wrong and she's at 61. She's at 61. Let's give her the Clinton number. Well, guess what? Clinton lost at that number. And yes, that 61 would be 8 points higher than Biden, and Biden barely won. So you might say, well, you know what? If that's wrong by half, then she's doing pretty good. And she should be crushing it. But then take a look at this number here. This is with just overall with black men. There's a 31-point drop-off. A 15-point drop-off from Biden. You can't win with these numbers just within if you're losing the black coalition. And we haven't even entered anything into what's happening with the Hispanic or the Latino vote, where they're being peeled off and going into the Republican camp, into the Trump column. And then you've got the Asian vote. What about the Muslim vote in Georgia, Pennsylvania, especially in Michigan? And then you've got the white vote. Yes, the only thing the Democrats can hang their hat on right now is the abortion issue, and it is going to drive voter turnout like crazy among the Democrats, especially white suburban women, white elite women, white college-educated women. That's what's going to happen. But then you take a look at this. How about black women? Why are black women 22 points less than Clinton? Why were they supporting a white woman by 93 points, but supposedly a black woman they're only supporting by 71 points? That margin, why? I'll tell you why, because they realize she's not black. She doesn't have any black blood in her. She's Jamaican, and she's South Asian Indian. And when that was helping her back in the day in California, that's where her roots went to, South Asian Indian. On the national stage, not a lot of voting power from Indian Americans, but there is from the 13% black community. So why not just switch over to blackness? And that's exactly what Kamala did. Because that is a huge advantage to be part of a minority community, being female, being black, being Democrat. You fit right into that plantation. You really do. All right, now let's get to what's happening in terms of the poly market, folks. So take a look at this. So if I've shown you this so many times before, this is the real clear polling averages when you don't have any states that are undecided. No swing states, just based on the RCP average. Right now, they've got Trump at 302, and the main reason is Nevada flipped, PA flipped, Michigan flipped, which gives him 302. All right, so that's straight, simple, that's exactly what that is without any swing states involved. Now I'm going to show you where I differ from this map. They're slowly and slowly creeping up to my number. And yes, a number of things have to fall, but Rasmussen and some of these other pollsters have said that right now Trump is +2, +3 in the national vote. And Gallup poll has a +7 in terms of voter identity, leaning or are saying that they're Republican. And when you factor in the other things, it's +2, +3. I have a feeling that they've underestimated Trump always in terms of the national polling and also at the state level by anywhere from 4 to 6 to 7 points. So let's even assume that they're oversampling him and too much. And instead of 4, let's say it's just +2. So if Rasmus is already saying +3 and others are saying +3, you add +2 to that, that's a +5 national average. This is why I think this is going to happen and where I come up with my 345. And what I'm going to do is after that's done and I show you where I'm coming from in terms of my polling, in terms of my prediction, then we're going to give you a sense of what's been happening over the course of the last few hours in the political sphere, all right, both from the Republican and the Democrat side. And we'll take a look at that to give you an overall feel of what's happening for today, which is the 17th of October, all right? So stick around. Let's take a look at my prediction electoral map right now. So here you can see 345 to 193. Where am I differing? Where are my thought process? Well, like I said, I've given Nevada. I think Nevada is going to go by 1 to 3 points for Trump. I really feel because of what's happening and the underestimation of Trump in 2016, in 2020, everything that's happened right now. You take a look at the disastrous interview that Kamala had on Fox News, where they literally were, after 20 minutes or so, her staff was like giving the cut sign to Brett Baer. Let's end this, where she literally didn't do her any good at all. The bottom just fell out. I believe the Al Smith dinner is tonight, the charity dinner, for the Catholic dinner, where both candidates usually come in and sort of, good humored nature, maybe a couple of jabs at each other or whatever. She's saying she's not appearing in that, so Trump's going to be there all alone. Can you imagine how much that's going to be taken into the news cycle as well? Along with, we're going to show you what's happening in the poly market, where Trump's at his highest in terms of where real people are putting real money, on the line. And where I think that Trump is +4, +5, maybe even +6 in the national popular vote because of what's going on. Just take a look. I mean, you take a look at every single state, where even the blue states where Kamala is ahead, no doubt. But her numbers are so way off from what Biden was at. New York, Biden won by 23. She's up by 9, folks, up by 9. What's going to happen in the national popular vote when those people are voting Republican right now? Those Democrats, those black voters, those minority voters, those Muslim voters, those Latino Hispanic voters, Cuban voters, Asian voters that voted for Biden in 2020 are now either staying away or are going to vote Trump or going, third party. So I think she's going to win Nevada by 1-3. I have a feeling she's going to take New Mexico. Same thing, maybe by 1-2. I think Minnesota's going to flip for Donald Trump. Wisconsin, wouldn't be surprised if he wins this by 5, folks, or more, but more likely 3-5. Michigan, 1-3. Again, the Arab American vote, not just comprised of Muslims. Yes, 70 to 75%, yes, but you've got, Arab Christians there, Jewish Arabs that are there, Druze, Coptic Christians from Egypt, from Syria, from Lebanon, from Mideast North Africa, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. It's a whole eclectic mix. They're not all Muslim, majority yes. Abandon Biden, abandon Harris. The uncommitted vote, which are probably still going to vote for Harris. Some won't vote at all. Some will peel off to Trump. Trump is up by 6. He's 18%. Muslim vote. Stein's around 40%. Harris is at 12. He's 6 points ahead of her. Jill Stein is now on the ticket in these battleground states, where she wasn't in 2020. Plus, you've got Cornel West. Plus, you've got the Communist Party, Chase Oliver, I believe, or Oliver Chase, whatever. So going here, Michigan, I think, 1-3 to Trump. Ohio, I think he's going to win this in double digits, folks. If Ohio is going by, 11 to 15 points, I don't see Pennsylvania. How does he win Ohio by 11 or in double digits and Pennsylvania goes to Harris? It just doesn't make any sense because these things happen in waves. And you've got the most liberal, which is Michigan. Wisconsin is in the middle. And then Pennsylvania. Now you've got New Hampshire, I think, is going to flip 1-3 points. He's going to win that by. It's going to be close. Nebraska, 2nd District, I'm giving that to Trump. Along with Virginia, I think Virginia is going to fall. Now, it may be that Virginia, New Hampshire, NE2, Nevada, New Mexico, maybe they don't go Trump's way. So we don't get 345. It's 302 or 36 or 312. Do I care? No, as long as it's above 270, of course, that's all we care about. But it would be nice to have an electoral landslide as well as a national popular vote victory. Too big to rig, I say, too big to rig. And of course, I'm giving North Carolina and Georgia. Now let's go ahead and here, this, folks, was something that we all know was just absolutely crushing to Kamala Harris. She was contentious. She was abrasive. She was, finger wagging. She was attacking Donald Trump. She wasn't giving what she wanted to do. Brett Baer asked her some pointed questions. Just give me the answers. And she didn't. And about 20 minutes into this, her handlers were basically given the, cut signal to Brett Baer, and you could see Brett Baer looking over his shoulder and nodding and saying, okay, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. They wanted this to end so freaking fast. They wanted to end this, as I said before, as fast as they could. And it wasn't that there were any gotcha questions. It was just regular questions that everybody wanted to ask. Brett Baer did a masterful job. He tried to stop her from filibustering. He tried to get in there. At times they were talking over each other because she was trying to get her points in, which there weren't points at all. He was trying to make sure that he could get his questions out because she was doing everything that she could to string out those questions with her typical word salad. And we all saw what happened. Now, the left is going to say she went to the lion's den, she conquered, she stood up to the man, he was bullying her. You know what the typical thing is going to be from the left. That's perfectly fine. If all this does is fire up each other's bases, the Trump base and the Harris base, okay, fine. But you know what? If you were thinking that she was going to get anybody in the middle, those precious undecideds they talk about, still leading on the fence, still not decided, I don't think she moved the needle in that direction. But I think she pushed it over to the Trump side. So we'll take that victory all day long. Now, as promised, let's see what's happening in the political verse in the last 8 to 10 hours to get a sense of what's happening today on October 17th, based on the poly market, based on the polls that are out there, based on what's coming out of all the camps. Take a look at this, folks. So here you have it, the 17th of October, 62% to her 39%. She's down 2 from yesterday. He's gained 2 points, folks. He's gained 2 points. This is what you got to see here. Look at this. Back in August, it was tied. August 8th, they were tied. And then they just, Harris was up a couple, tied, at one point, Trump was up 7. Then August 23rd, he's up by 2. And then it just, back and forth, he's up there. He maintained his lead. She went up on the 15th. And we just keep going. And then boom, right here, October 4th, October 5th, he just literally took off like a rocket where he's up there. Take a look at what's happening in terms of the swing states. He's up in Arizona, 70 to 30. I'm just rounding up. 56-44 in Michigan now. 65-35 in Georgia. He's up by 10 in Wisconsin, 55-45. He's up by nearly 20 in Pennsylvania. In Nevada, he's up by 2. Now, they're still saying the popular vote winner is going to be Harris by 66%. She's got 66, he's got 35. She's up by 2. He's down 1 since yesterday. All right, fine. If he loses the popular vote, we certainly hope that he wins the popular vote. But if he loses the popular vote and he's going into this tied, or even if he's down by 1, if you look at some of the left-leaning polls, she needs to be, Biden just barely won, and he won the national vote by 4.5 points. So where does she have to be? 5 or 6 ahead in order to win? Going into the election, if she's up 2-3 in those polls, electoral college, that's going to Trump. She's got to be at least 5 points up going into election day in the national vote totals. That's where she's got to be on those polls, folks. That's where she's got to be. Now let's check out and see what's happening in the Twitterverse and get a semblance of what's happening politically in terms of the news. So folks, here you can see, take a look at this here. The platform with people with real money currently believe Donald Trump will win the election. As I said, regular people with real actual money on the line versus the mainstream elites. Here are your apps. Polymarket now, number 1. Over the New York Times Live News, over CNN Polymarket. Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable. Oh, look what's going on over here. Labor staff. They've got 100 current former Labor staff, party staff are going to battleground states in the U.S. election to campaign for Kamala Harris. The party's offering to sort your housing. Yeah, head of operations at the Labor Party. She's saying, I have nearly 100 Labor Party staff, current and former, going to the U.S. next few weeks. I have 10 spots available for anyone available to head to the battleground state of North Carolina. We'll sort your housing. Unbelievable. Here's a signal poll. Trump up by 0.6. Harris. Harris 46.6. Trump 47.2. It's a new Michigan poll by RMG. They've got them tied. Nobody's factoring in to, the Arab American vote, the Muslim vote, the Biden abandoned Harris coalition. I mean, nobody's talking about this at all. And it's just, now last poll, Harris was +3, so she's lost, according to them. She's lost that advantage. I just think that Michigan, I just can't see it going. And like I said, as if Ohio's in, the low teens, I can't see Pennsylvania not following. And if Pennsylvania doesn't follow, I don't see how Michigan, if Michigan doesn't, I don't see Wisconsin. These all trends, they sweep, folks, like a tsunami going across. That's how it works. Oh, here's one. I guess this is what happened. This guy here, this moron, Keith Edwards. I mean, he's a troll. He's a Democratic, socialist Marxist. So he basically he's canceled 60 Minutes, CNBC, second debate with Kamala, goes to the Economic Forum, right, in Chicago or Detroit, wherever that was held, literally owns the place, standing freaking ovation for him. Puts the moderator in his place. I mean, playfully, they had some jabs back and forth, but do you think Kamala could have done that for over an hour and a half? Hell, no freaking way. So he puts this down, and Eric Daugherty answers and said, okay, look what's going on here. Look, Sunday, the 27th, rally. Wednesday, rally. Monday, October 21st, rally. Sunday, rally, Lancaster, Greenville, Turning Point in Duluth, Georgia, New York. The 17th, Saturday, in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. 18th, Detroit, Michigan. And I'd like to answer to him, what about, hey, Keith, buddy, bruh. And I'm going to tweet this on Twitter. You can follow me at Twitter, at Nasir Shaikh Show. What about Kamala basically saying she doesn't want to attend the Al Smith charity dinner, huh? Trump gained 7 points in the Wisconsin poll from Morning Consult, which a lot of people like to call Morning Compost. I mean, Bloomberg shows significant drops in the Rust Belt, although she still retains an electoral college map in whatever remains her friendliest pollster. Ironically, her map goes through Arizona. I mean, this is just unbelievable. These are the battlegrounds. Trump up by 1, Wisconsin, Georgia, North Carolina. They're still saying Harris is +1 in Arizona, PA. She's +2 in Michigan, and she's +4 in Nevada. Let's see who this is. I believe Morning Consult. From October 6th to 15th, likely voters. Doesn't give a number, just gives a likely voters. That's pretty much it. See, as he goes on to say, this is what we said that was going to happen. That's so true. That as the race got tighter, their prior polls, they had Wisconsin +3, PA +5, North Carolina +2, Nevada, she was +7, she was +3. In Michigan, they gave her a tie, the morning consult polls. In Ohio, Marino +1, Texas +1 for Cruz. Wow, Nate Silver, finally, Nate Silver just flipped. Just flipped. Trump has gone up 3 points. He's above the 50% threshold. She's dropped below 50. She's at 49.5. And yet, with Trump having that, the probable popular vote probability that they're saying, 75 to 25, and she barely squeaks out. I mean, Nate just wants to keep holding on to that Harris probability as much as possible as he can, even though it's shifted and changed now to the percentage to Trump, according to his modeling. So now, again, how do you get this? He's leading in Wisconsin, folks, but Harris is leading in Arizona. How does that happen? How? He's leading in Michigan. Harris is +2 in Michigan. I mean, this is what's unbelievable. And this was some video that was obviously out there. This video, speaking away from a microphone, report says Biden was telling Obama, she's not as strong as me, referencing Kamala Harris. Obama is supposedly replying, I know, that's true. We have time. This was at the Ethel Kennedy funeral. Rachel Maddow, Mark Cuban, what a total douche. With Rachel, classic, yeah. Mark Cuban, you have some splaining do. Unbelievable. New Michigan poll has got Trump up by 10. It says, he goes on to say, I hope what this election is going to look like if Wisconsin polling isn't fixed, which underestimated Trump by 5 to 6 points in both 2020 and 2016. And he's going here. Looks like the strong GOP Michigan counties are on the verge of overtaking Democratic areas for mail-in ballot return. It's almost as if people were premature in overanalyzing early returns from Detroit. GOP should overtake the Dems in ballot return percentage tomorrow. This is good news. Wisconsin is now only using approximately 78 ballot drop boxes after they used them illegally over 500 in 2020. This is just absolute bullshit. This is absolute bullshit with these ballot boxes. Anybody can stuff them. I just don't understand. It's just unbelievable how these, just the deep state. And here's the thing, folks, this is what I talk about all the time as well. Other people talk about that too. Supposedly now the polls have shifted to Trump. Nothing shifted, folks. Nothing shifted. They just, as he says, pollsters heard and corrected last minute. Electorates, they don't swing this way. They don't go from -4 to +6 in a week. That's not what happens. Nobody changes their mind like that. The majority of people, it just doesn't happen. What happens is that push polls are put out there to formulate opinion, to basically say to low propensity or low information voters, hey, be part of her. Oh, it looks like Kamala's winning by 10 or 11. I want to be on the side that wins. Okay, all right, fine. I'll vote that way. They're trying to formulate opinion. They're trying to change opinion. They're trying to do everything that they can to try to, yes, fix and rig the election in one direction. That's what they're trying to do. They're hoping to get that low information or no information voter, or that person sitting on the fence saying, oh, okay, all right. But then as it comes closer and closer, they can't be off by that much. Some of them still do. But these are huge, big pollsters that even if they're off by that much, next election cycle, they're still going to be pushing the same damn thing, the same damn propaganda. They don't care what people say about it, as long as they can get their push idea in place and win over some of those voters. Their mission's accomplished. And then what do? Correct. Come a little bit closer to say, oh, we weren't that far off. That's exactly what these pollsters do, folks. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow, so y'all know what to do. Take a look at our other video links above and below. My final thought is always, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.